Have you ever woken up with the faintest sense of something extraordinary lingering just beyond your grasp? A dream so vivid, so real, yet when you try to reach for it, it slips away like smoke through your fingers? In the quiet moments before the world pulls you back into the rhythm of your day, there's a whisper in the air, an ancient secret hidden in the folds of your own mind. What if the reason we can't remember our dreams is not because they are lost, but because they are meant to be forgotten? What if, within the veils of sleep, your soul is receiving messages too profound, too powerful for the waking world to comprehend? Join me now as we unravel the mysteries of dream forgetting and discover the profound purpose behind the silent veil that separates our dreams from our waking life. Because some secrets, dear friend, are not meant to be remembered, but felt. The forgotten dream at dawn. There is a strange and silent moment just before the morning light creeps in, when the soul stirs, returning from a journey far beyond the reach of our waking mind. You open your eyes with the haunting feeling that something incredible just happened. A vivid dream perhaps, full of symbols, places you've never known, faces you somehow recognize. And yet, like smoke through your fingers, it vanishes. The memory slips away, leaving behind only a whisper. But what if this forgetting isn't a flaw of your memory? What if it's by design? According to ancient Buddhist wisdom, dreams are not mere flickers of fantasy. They are doorways, portals through which the soul roams, receiving messages from other realms, glimpses of past lives, or warnings of paths yet to unfold. And sometimes, the soul sees what the waking self is not yet ready to understand. So, the mind, in its gentle protection, cloaks it in forgetfulness. It is said that certain dreams are veiled not by chance, but by karmic law, forgotten because they touch on truths too deep or too dangerous for the conscious self to carry. The veil is mercy, a spiritual safeguard. And so we wake, chasing the ghost of a message we almost received, a truth just out of reach. The question is not why we forget, but what waits for us beyond remembering. The hidden design of your life. Long before you took your first breath, before the stars aligned and your mother first dreamed of your name, your soul was awake. Somewhere beyond the veil of time, in a realm untouched by sorrow or joy, you sat with celestial guides, crafting the map of this life. Not a single thread was woven without intention. The family you would be born into, the struggles you would face, the triumphs that would test your pride, each one was chosen. Not as punishment, not as reward, but as a sacred curriculum for the growth of your soul. You agreed to this life, fully knowing the pain and the beauty it would bring. Your soul, ancient and wise, did not seek comfort. It sought expansion. And so, it chose the exact conditions that would ignite your awakening. When things fall apart, when the path feels unfair or random, remember, nothing is accidental. You are not a victim of fate, but a co-author of your story. Even now, as you walk this earth cloaked in human form, your higher self remembers. It whispers through intuition, through dreams, through the aching pull of déjà vu. You've been here before. The question is not why is this happening to me, but rather what did I come here to learn? Your life is not a mistake. It is a masterpiece in motion, designed by your soul's own hand. The contracts of the soul. In the twilight realm before birth, where light breathes and time stands still, your soul sat across from others. Not strangers, but eternal companions. Some you had danced with in lifetimes past. Others were new but destined to shape your journey. There, in silence deeper than thought, sacred contracts were made. One would come to break your heart, not to destroy you, but to break you open. Another would betray you, not out of malice, but to awaken your strength. Some would come bearing love, recognition, and peace. Their presence like a song you had long forgotten, but somehow still remembered. None of these encounters were random. Every soul you meet in this lifetime plays a role agreed upon in that ancient space beyond the stars. They show up not only for your growth, but also for theirs. Your enemies are often your greatest teachers. Your lovers, your mirrors. Even the briefest encounters. A kind stranger, a cruel boss, a passing face in a crowd, might be part of the divine choreography. And when someone leaves your life, suddenly, painfully, it's not always a failure. It may simply mean the soul contract is complete, the lesson learned, the thread unraveled. So when your heart aches or your trust is shaken, pause, close your eyes, ask your soul what contract is being fulfilled. The answer will not always come in words, but in the soft knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be, guided, held, and never truly alone. The illusion of victimhood. Long ago, in the realm of spirit, your soul stood before a mirror that did not show your face, but your essence. In that moment, you understood something many forget when they descend into the human world. Nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. But once you passed through the veil of birth, the forgetting began. Pain came, loss visited, shadows fell, and the mind, frightened and small, whispered, "Why me?" You looked outward for blame. A parent who wounded you, a friend who betrayed you, a world that never seemed fair. The illusion of victimhood wrapped around you like fog, blurring your vision and softening your power. But deep within, the soul never forgot. And so, it sent whispers, through dreams, through synchronicities, through sudden bursts of clarity. It reminded you, every trial is a teacher, every wound is a doorway, every sorrow has hidden purpose. You did not come here to be crushed by life. You came to remember you are the creator within the storm, the architect of meaning, the one who can choose love in the face of fear and light in the depths of darkness. The moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "What is this here to teach me?" the illusion begins to dissolve, and in its place a quiet power returns, one that was always yours. The victim disappears. The soul awakens, the soul's chosen wound. In the timeless stillness before your birth, your soul stood among the stars, listening, not with ears, but with a deep knowing. It was here that you were shown a sacred map, not of lands and seas, but of wounds. These wounds were not punishments, they were portals. One glowed with the ache of abandonment, another shimmered with the sting of betrayal, a third pulsed with the grief of loss. Each one whispered promises of awakening, if you dared to walk through them. And you, ancient traveler, chose yours. You chose not because you were weak, but because your soul was ready to rise through what would break others. You chose the very wound that would crack your heart open wide enough to let the light in. Then, with a final breath of eternity, you descended into form, forgetting everything. As a child, you cried out, "Why this pain?" But beneath the sorrow, your soul began weaving golden threads through your suffering. The wound, once raw, became a compass. It pointed you toward your deepest truths, your calling, your compassion. For those who do not run from their pain, who turn and face it with open eyes and a willing heart, the wound transforms. And then one day you realize this was never your punishment. It was your initiation. And in that moment, what once hurt you now heals others. Such is the wisdom of a soul who remembers. The soul contract with the shadow. Long before time stitched itself into years and days, your soul entered a sacred circle, an ethereal space beyond the veil. Here, in silence and shimmering light, it met with another presence, the shadow. It wasn't the darkness you've come to fear. It was a teacher in disguise. Together, you formed a pact, not in ink or word, but in energy. You asked it to challenge you, to push you, to mirror back all that you refused to see. And so it agreed. It would become the difficult parent, the unfaithful lover, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the loss. "Will you remember?" the shadow asked. You replied, "Eventually." And so you stepped into this life, wide-eyed and trusting, not knowing the agreements you made. Then the shadows appeared, disguised as pain, as rejection, as failure. You fought them, cursed them, ran from them. But at the soul's hour, often when you are most weary, you begin to see. The shadow was not your enemy. It was the one who loved you enough to hold the role of your greatest teacher. Carved out space for your light to shine. It sculpted your courage, sharpened your clarity, and deepened your empathy. Only when you can thank the shadow, when you can bow to it with grace, do you unlock the fullness of your becoming. For it is through the dance with darkness that the soul remembers its light. The sacred pause between lives. In the quiet hush between death and birth, there lies a realm untouched by time. A vast expanse of silver-blue stillness where souls drift like whispers in the wind. This is the sacred pause, the interlude of spirit, where the soul, newly freed from the weight of flesh, returns to remembrance. Here, the illusions of the earthly world dissolve like mist at dawn. No more names, no more roles, only essence remains. The soul, wrapped in a shimmering cocoon of light, is met by guides, ancient beings of love and knowing. They do not judge, but they reveal. Together, you review the life just lived, not through the mind, but through the heart. Every choice, every word, every moment of kindness or cruelty ripples out in waves of energy. You feel what others felt. You understand what you could not see before. Then comes the question, both gentle and profound. What would you like to learn next? This is not punishment, nor reward. It is co-creation. You may choose to return to familiar souls in new forms, to be mother to one who was once your child, or to cross paths briefly with a stranger whose gaze awakens your soul. You may ask to grow in compassion, to heal an old karmic thread, or to walk into a destiny written in stardust. And when your path is chosen, you dive again, forgetting so you may remember. For the sacred pause is not the end. It is the breath before the song begins again. The web of karmic threads. In the ethereal loom of the cosmos, every soul is a thread vibrant, luminous, and ever-weaving. From lifetime to lifetime, these threads twist and turn, tangling into knots, unraveling into grace, forming the intricate tapestry of karma. When a soul chooses to descend once more into the earthly plane, it does not do so blindly. It follows the pull of karmic ties, unseen but unbreakable. Like the soft tug of a dream you can't quite recall. These connections guide you toward those you are meant to meet, love, challenge, or heal. Perhaps in one life you were the betrayer, and in this one you are the betrayed. Perhaps the stranger who shows you unexpected kindness is repaying a debt from centuries past. Or the parent who feels like a stranger is simply a soul you've danced with many times before. Sometimes in harmony, sometimes in discord. There is no punishment in this dance. Only balance. Only learning. Even your greatest sorrows are not accidents, but invitations. Silent calls from your soul's deepest longing to grow, to awaken. Each interaction, each moment of pain or joy, is a thread weaving meaning into your story. And while the web may seem complex, even cruel, know this, it is always just. The universe remembers what you have forgotten. It brings you back to what must be seen, lived, forgiven. And when you finally understand the pattern, you are free to weave a new one. The soul's great forgetting. Before your soul crossed the veil into this world of form and shadow, it knew everything. It remembered the stars it was born from, the lifetimes it had lived, the promises it had made. It saw clearly the wounds still aching, the debts still owed, the lessons still unfinished. In the sacred hall of divine design, your soul stood before a council, not of judgment, but of love, and chose this life, this body, this path. But to walk it with purpose, it had to forget. And so, as you took your first breath, the veil of forgetting gently descended. You forgot the hands that once held yours, the lives you had cherished, the truth of who you are. All faded like mist at dawn. Why must you forget? Because remembering too much would make the game too easy, the growth too shallow, the courage too small. For it is in the not knowing that the soul becomes strong. In confusion, it learns trust. In heartbreak, it learns compassion. In darkness, it becomes the light. Yet the forgetting is not forever. Symbols will call to you. Dreams will stir you. A stranger's words, a moment of silence, a sudden knowing. You will remember in fragments. Glimpses, echoes. Each step forward is a step back to yourself. And when the veil finally lifts, perhaps in a moment of stillness or in the final breath, you will weep with recognition. Not in sorrow, but in awe. You had never been lost. You were only remembering your way home. The moment of rebirth. The moment your soul decided to incarnate in this world was like a seed falling from the heavens, carried by the winds of destiny. It was a moment brimming with infinite possibilities, an eternal spark of potential waiting to be nurtured by the soil of time. As you journeyed through the corridors of existence, your soul experienced life after life, each one a chapter in the grand story of your becoming. And yet, each lifetime was both a beginning and an end, a spiral dance of endings that led to beginnings, and beginnings that wove into endings. Through countless trials, joys, and sorrows, your soul gathered wisdom. Each moment of pain carved pathways to deeper understanding. Each moment of joy expanded the heart's capacity for love. But within this vast cycle, there came a time when the soul would reach the threshold. A moment when it would remember that the old self, with its limitations and stories, had to die to make way for something greater. This was the sacred moment of rebirth. It was not a violent death, but a quiet, sacred surrender. The old you, with all its fears, attachments, and illusions, dissolved like fog under the morning sun. What remained was pure, untamed, and full of light, the essence of your true self, ready to rise again. And so, the soul, having been born anew, began again. This time not as a seeker, but as a finder, remembering its divine essence, shining brighter with each passing day.